Hey LinkedIn, I think it was yesterday I saw a post on, or a trending topic anyway, on Twitter, now X, about tech companies looking for storytellers, good storytellers, and you know, there's a buzz about this. And it's so true though, like if you're an avid reader and you read a good book, you know when you just absorb it and you almost can't put it down, and you know, it's kind of like, you know it when you see it, when you start reading good writing, or you start reading great storytelling. Michael Crichton's books, you know, Jurassic Park, obviously the book is fantastic. I was reading the Stephen King book, the one that they base Stand By Me on. I think it's called The Body or something like that, but just literally a couple paragraphs in and you're like, man, this is really good writing. And I, you know, the premise of Richter, how we started this company and everything that we did, it was always sort of sales enablement, sales transformation, but at the root of everything was always communication. So it was always about, you know, using aesthetics and communication to move people. And that came down to writing. Like I love writing. I write and write myself. I'm an avid reader. I wrote a book, the red book behind me, and if you want a copy, by the way, let me know and I'll send it to you. But I love writers, you know, and I'm listening to this audiobook on CAA right now, the Creative Artists Agency, and the whole thing is basically getting scripts and then placing the movies and the directors and everything like that. But basically it comes down to the script. It comes down to the writing. It comes down to the story. And you know, nowadays, like, you have AI, and I've been playing with a lot of AI. Like I'm definitely not a beginner when it comes to AI. I've played with Google and Gemini and Midjourney and ChatGPT, like all the tools, and Claude. And the one thing I notice is, like, it does require still a lot of steering and honing and different things like that. Some of the tools are really good. And they have their own purposes. Like, there's certain things where ChatGPT is good at this, or Claude is good at this, or whatever. But I still maintain, and it doesn't matter with AI, it's like I still maintain, for example, that it starts with great storytelling, and you have to understand who that audience is, and then kind of like work through that journey to create great storytelling. And I wrote a post the other day about Toy Story 1 versus Toy Story 3, and if you look at Toy Story 1, just how compelling and how well done the story is, and then, you know, you bring in the animation, and the animation is really meant to hold the attention. It's helped to visually tell the story, but it's anchored by the story itself, by the writing. That is true in B2B selling as well. That's true in all sales, all marketing. You know, it's like you have to be able to tell a compelling story in some way, and tell it in a sequence to bring the buyer in. And obviously that's going to connect to their needs. You have to solve a problem and make sure it's connected to their needs. But if you're just pushing, you know, benefits or this or that, it becomes not very interesting pretty quickly. And so much of selling comes down to storytelling. And you know, when you look at going into 2026, email's less effective, right? Phones are less effective. It's going to be content strategy, and it's going to be authentic, well done content in sequence, in some sequence that follows the overall journey, whether it's a pre-sales journey or sales enablement journey or whatever. And it's great storytelling from cover to cover, and you're working on that, or you're doing it in snippets or whatever. But the content thing is only going to get bigger. And I also think there's a pretty healthy skepticism of AI. So it's like, you can use AI tools in certain areas, but you know, people are going to get overrun on that, and they're going to be looking for authentic content. So trust, I think, is going to be a big word in 2026. Trust, relationships, and content, authentic, organic content. A lot of people talking about AI search and things like that. Some people, I think, are calling it GEO or whatever. But even for that, like, if you want to come up in AI search, you're going to need a lot of organic content. Owned media, written form, videos, snippets, all that kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that's going to read on these various different tools and then recommend. And so basically, content strategy, trust, and storytelling are key themes going forward. That's what people are responsive to. Even just when you look at influencer like content creators and things like that. Like, what are people going to? It's like there's some level of storytelling or entertainment or interest there. So those are key things. I think you can do that through audio articles. I listened to an Apple News article the other day. I thought that was super well done. It was very interesting. It was on the movie Marty Supreme, Christmas Day. I saw that clip. It was on the Marty Supreme movie. It was like, that was an interesting audio article. I think a lot of companies should take advantage of that. I think audio books are a great way to get the message out. Obviously, video content, people watching a ton of video content. That's not going down. Instagram now has kind of it's moving the reels over to TV. So content, great storytelling. Start with understanding the audience, understand the target public. Who are they? What do they need? And then really figure out what is the story that you need to tell to get to them.